Hello, everyone. In the past, you've heard me talk about details, and I wanted to give you guys an idea of just the type of details that I meant. So, you've heard me talk about the details of the uniforms and the care they take getting those to look correct. But the fort is more than just the uniforms that they wear. The set pieces are detailed as well. As you can see from this picture here, table set for two. You notice the canteen up on the top, a small pot, and a bed, and a box to store belongings in, as well as the working fireplace. Now take a look at the bed. You have a small stool to sit down on, as well as the bed. You can see the hat, the bags, and the shoes all sitting there waiting for someone, as well as fresh linens sitting on the top. During the Revolutionary War, families would go with the troops. So you may have children, you may have wives with the traveling with the troops that would handle certain functions of a non-military nature, including tending wounds of the soldiers. Now, again, this is an outfit, but take a look at the detail in here. It's the 26th Regiment. You'll notice that each of the buttons say 26 on them. In addition, you got a little clasp down here and hearts on the inside of this uniform. Notice the yellow piping. Again, with all these 26 buttons, all the buttons have the regiment's number on them. Again, you can see the detail of what they've got, but you can see the detail of the weaponry themselves. Pull in, you can see the sparks that come up from it. You do not want to get the stuff in your eyes, which look at how close the firing is to their faces. Right? Something you've probably never read about and wouldn't notice unless you went to an event such as this. But when these muskets fire off, down here will be the spark that kicks off the gunpowder. It's got to go somewhere. And you also have the smoke. So if you're not careful and you see all these little spots here, not only could they set your hat, in theory, on fire, but what would that be like to get in your eye? All right, so when they fire off, everybody is going to close their eyes. And look at the blowback down here. You can see the particles shooting away from the gun, heading toward the other officers. And again, the 26 buttons on the uniforms. So when I'm talking about details, I'm not talking about just the general stuff, like the way they're dressed, like this coin here that you can see, Germantown, October 4th, 1777. I'm not talking about these types of things. What I'm talking about is every detail in what you see. Right? Here's an old button for the 22nd. And when you capture details, you may see things that you couldn't see before. Right? While they're out uh, performing their duties, you may not see the buttons up close. But here is an old uniform on display in the museum, and you can see the 34 on the button. So you can see what the buttons actually looked like back at that time. And again, we're talking about getting details. Now, these are things that a lot of people won't necessarily photograph because they're looking for the big event, the explosion out of the cannon. They're not looking at all of the little tasks and details that they would have had to perform on a daily basis. This is in preparation for firing off the cannon. This wick here is made out of hemp wire or hemp cord, and it's been treated with wine spirits to give it a long and constant burn. But you've got to get it lit, and getting it lit means blowing on it, and you're going to have to do that every so often to make sure that it's still viable. But that is what we're doing there to get to here. Again, look at all the details that you may not have seen while they were out doing it. The buckle, the band here, the buttons up the sides. Okay? The 26th on the bag, again, 26th Regiment. The firing of the cannon, look at how it lights up the ball in the back used to help raise the cannon up. So these cannons are not light. They're going to put a rope underneath the barrel, but they put another rope around this to help lift it up and to help guide it when they're lifting it out of this carriage to put it onto something else or to load it up for transport. There's the stick we just saw them lighting. Now he's pulling it farther back. Again, this is all real time. You can see the cloud coming up from it. And if you pay attention down the bottom, you can see that the carriage moved backward from the blast. But again, all the details that you can see, including this little flare right in the cloud, left over from the initial explosion. Your hole is here for the firing, and this piece is the cover that they would put over the hole. So once they put the powder in the hole and tapped it down, they would move that cover into place to protect it, to keep the wind from blowing the powder off, etc. Because you've got a little amount of powder on the top that they light with the stick to fire off the cannon. So it's not a fuse coming out. It's not like you've seen for the cartoons or some of the other things, like they have a ball bomb that has a piece of cord coming out of it. The cannon is just the hole filled with gunpowder and a little mound added at the top so that they could touch that off, and that fires the cannon. But again, details. When you're taking an event, like if you're taking a wedding, it's important to get the people, right? To get the relationships, to get the interactions between the people. It's also important to get the details of the event. And that could include getting the cake, getting the settings of the tables, getting the things that will invoke in your client the memory of the event. But here, what I'm doing is capturing things like the smoke that looks an awful lot like a cobweb, things that people would not normally see. And obviously, if you were watching this thing, you wouldn't have caught it because the camera is capturing that little frame, that moment in time. They would have just gone too fast for the human eye and brain to capture this particular event. So when I talk about details, yes, I'm talking about the settings and the buttons and the bags, but I'm also talking about the things that require that camera firing at a high frame rate to capture. And that's one of the main reasons I like to have things shot in bursts. So when I take a picture, I'm not taking an individual picture and moving out of the next, or even doing a couple. I'll click the shutter quickly for a burst. That'll give me between 4 and 5 photographs. If you're taking pictures of people, that might get you past a blink. Why not? 5's kind of short for getting past a blink, but it'll let me capture these type of images where we get a still of what's happening, and we can see the actual event a frame at a time. So that's what I got for you guys this week. Pay attention to the details both when you're taking photographs and in your life. And I will talk to you guys all next